Hey y'all, this is AL Think Madame, and this is the recap review for Love and Marriage Huntsville. I legit almost forgot that I was supposed to do the recap review for this. Um, I done did the most today, and I'm exhausted. Yeah. Anyway, y'all, let's get into this episode. So the episode starts out with Destiny on the set where she is actually someone who has been chosen to, I think she got the cover of Hype Hair magazine. I don't know if any of y'all grew up going and reading this magazine and looking through the magazine for hair inspiration or whatever, but I definitely was one of those. I think that the person who has taken over the magazine now is there. There's a new owner. I don't know how new it is to them, but yeah. So they chose her, and her father actually came to support her. And if I'm not mistaken, she and her father were talking, and her father brought up the fact that her grandmother is no longer with us and that she would have been proud of her and all this other stuff. Y'all, it was just a really sweet moment. He brought her some flowers. He's very, very happy that this is a moment that is happening for her and that all of his pushing has not been in vain, because I know that a lot of parents feel like, oh, I did all of this and I told them to do right, and sometimes it doesn't seem as though it's paid off, but in her case it seems as though it has paid off. So that's awesome. Well, Letitia showed up and she met Destiny's father, and Destiny was talking about her daddy need to meet Miss Wanda, and so she was like, I don't know about all that, because my mama is turned up. And she was like, well, my daddy got to turn upside. He ain't never been married before, so child, don't. She already got a husband, and she got a whole husband and at least one whole boyfriend. Like, she don't need nothing else. She don't need nothing else. So they're talking, and Letitia discusses how she feels everything went with Vegas. And we already know she was disappointed because she wanted to have a moment with her husband, and he wouldn't even get up there and say, hey, I love my wife. We've been married this long. I really appreciate her. We are planning something between the two of us at a later date and time. But I just wanted to get up here and say I love her. Like, he wouldn't even do that. Child. So anyway, she revealed that he has been depressed and all this other stuff, and that this was something that was news to her. So Destiny kind of seems like she's caught off guard, because it's like, girl, you ain't even know that from your own husband? What? Yeah, it's very shocking. Like, I understand, but at the same time, like, you should have known that something outside of him being overworked was going on. But it is what it is. So, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to put my little Bluetooth in. So, they seem to have a great conversation. And of course, she ended up bringing up Tiffany, because she was like, the point of us doing this trip was so that we can share in our love and all of that with our friends, and the ones that, Melody and Destiny were kind of like the odd women out, because they were the only ones who are not married. But at the same time, it was supposed to be a moment where the friends could help to celebrate them. But of course, the conversation came up about Tiffany, and she was just like, look, she be doing too much, and she be trying people, and I have already extended an olive branch to her, and I want to try to link up with her and try to figure out what's going on with her, because we don't know none of her business, but she comes out of nowhere trying to spill everybody else's tea. And it's like, girl, what is going on with you? Because you're doing the absolute most. So yeah, that's where she's at with that. Well, we end up seeing Martell and Marceau link up. They're talking, and Marceau has now been told about the 47 acres. And so he's trying to understand, when is this project going to, kind of get going. And he talking about they going to start removing trees like ASAP. Like next week, next month, something. It's going to be really, really quick. So, y'all, I was laughing so hard and so much today. My voice, my voice is trying to leave me. So when y'all see me taking some sips of water, that's what it is. Because I'm surprised I even have a voice right now. Like, I'm very shocked. But yeah, so anyway, so he's talking to him because everything that has been going on between he and Melody, it's not a great situation. The divorce has happened and the other child is here. Like, it's just too much going on. And so, because Marceau has the license, excuse me, y'all, that Melody has, the builder's license, he's now trying to extend that service to him to see if he will, get in with him. And see, I'm glad that they finally answered this question, because if I'm not mistaken, I never heard them say it. So I always saw scoped, and I was just like, is this some kind of entity of them and the Holtz some way? Or was there somebody else that Marceau was partnered up with, and that's why it's named that? No, the two of them used to be in business together before Martell left for whatever reason. So I was like, okay. He just kept the name. I guess that they had a great reputation, so it's just like, you don't want to change the name and confuse nobody, and they'll be like, well, what happened? The last time I contracted your services out, it was called this, and now it's called that. Like, it might seem messy, I guess. And so he probably was just like, let me just keep the name going. I don't know. But I've been wondering for the longest, y'all. I really have. Y'all, I love ice water. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So anyway, in all actuality, Martell actually was supposed to be having a meeting with Chris. And it's like, okay. Later on, we'll get into that. But anyway, he was talking to him. He was talking to the both of them. And he was like, yeah, so I told Marceau what was going on. And so he was kind of looking like, oh, okay. Even though he really don't have that much expression on his face, you could still tell that he was like, oh, wait a minute, you didn't tell me what was going on with that? Oh, okay. So of course they want to know where the investors are and what's going on. And even Martell told Marceau that he felt some type of way about Chris going to Melody about it. And I hate to say it, but Marceau was right in the instance where he was talking about, I could pretty much work with anybody except my mother-in-law. Like, it's like, y'all working together, like, you really think you can't work with her? Like, what is going on? So I appreciate the fact that he even saw the craziness in that. Like, okay, why can't y'all make money together? Like, and the fact that he has way too much on his plate as it is. It's like, didn't we just have this conversation? Like, no. So anyway, Destiny ended up meeting up with Tiffany at this place, and they wanted to get an understanding of what was going on. And they kind of rehashed some of the stuff that had happened. And Destiny was like, look, both of us got a smart mouth. Like, we got to know when to reel it in, pull it back. And so Tiffany is like, I don't have a smart mouth. Pretty much, she's just the type of person that when something is going on, she's going to just keep flowing with it. And Destiny was just like, I'm gonna need you to learn how to read a room, because it's not looking how it need to look. Like, you are the new person in the group. Like, I don't understand why you coming in hot like this. And so she was like, well, haven't you been the new person in a group before? Like, and then of course production wanted to be petty a little bit and show where she and Kimmy didn't, start off on the best of terms and all this other stuff. Child, I was just like, oh, y'all being petty. But anyway, they gonna try to work on things and see where it goes. But it's funny that the way that they started off, it's like, it's always situations like this where people like them, they have such similar backgrounds that don't even know it. So Tiffany reveals that her name wasn't always Tiffany. And so I was like, I know y'all not finna go the route of making it seem like she was born a man. Like, that's not what y'all finna do. Okay. So, but what happened was she was put into the system, and she had been adopted, and she didn't know her family. And then pretty much the only family that she knows that she's related to is her child or her children or whatever, because she doesn't know who her folks are. And so Destiny, she actually had been in the system as well because her mother is on drugs and not functional, and she never had that relationship. So you could tell that, it's a very touchy subject for Tiffany. And so something that I noticed that, Destiny said, as of late, I've been wondering if this is just something that every literal person wants to say they are now, or is it just so happens to be a situation where it just almost everybody just is one. She was like, well, I'm an empath, so, and I'm like, are you really an empath though? Like, I'm not even trying to be mean. Like, I'm so serious. Like, it's like as of recent years, people have seen like random TV shows where people be like, well, I'm an empath. And then they go into the definition of an empath. And it's like now all of a sudden everybody says that they're an empath. And I'm like, are you though? So anyway, I'm just wondering, have any of y'all noticed that as well? Because there are times that I ain't never heard nobody say certain things before. Then all of a sudden a show or something came out and they said the word, and then all of a sudden now everybody is saying it. Like, I'm just like, child, okay, do what you do. So I'm glad that they know, at least she knows a little bit more about her, because it's just a lot going on. And I think that she ended up actually, it's crazy because I'm trying to figure out, why would Tiffany's neighbor tell her that she was adopted? Like, her neighbor told her when she became pretty much of age. I'm like, why would the neighbor tell you and not the person who adopted you? Like, that's trash of the neighbor. But anyway, she was going through a pregnancy, and then like the other child's father just recently passed away or something. I wasn't hearing her correctly, but somebody just recently passed away that's one of her children's fathers or something like that. Like, it was just too much going on. So for her to find out all of this while she's pregnant, it's like, woo, child, it's a lot. So yeah, we're gonna see where their friendship goes from here, because they're trying to give one another a chance now. So Melody went to go and see Chris so that she can hopefully get something put in stone and put on the calendar so that they can link up and talk about her putting in a bid for, the contract. So she learns of everything that happened. And so in her mind, she's like, okay, what is going on? Because at this point, I feel like he trying me, because he's sitting up here, and now this is just coming off as interesting to her, because it's like, why would you sit up here and you over here linking up with Marceau, who is someone who you just barely became back friends with, who you have made it seem as though he's taken money out of your pockets before, but you, who I've been with for several years, a long-term relationship, who we've made money together for our family, that we've built these brands and all this together, and it has proven to be what it needed to be. But you have a problem with me, and you want to try to take money out of my pocket. Nah, that isn't how it's going to work. So she has said that she is definitely going to put a bid in so that she can do what she needed to do. Hopefully she'll be the person that wins the bid, if you will, so that she can, get more money put in her pockets. After we find out what we find out, it doesn't seem as though Martell is going to be able to do anything, but we'll get there. So he went in to go and see Maurice at work. He'd never been to Maurice's firm or his, business, and he's actually coming in to talk to him so that he can figure out what he needs to do in order to get his credit score back up, because it's down 100 points. And also, apparently he has filed for bankruptcy. And so he wanted to know how long it would be before he would be able to do what he needs to do for the banks and whatnot to actually be able to lend to him again. And he said like pretty much 2 years. And so he looking like 2 years, like, oh, I need money now. So he's talking to him. He said bankruptcy is definitely one of those things that these loan officers and all that stuff they're looking at, and you can't sit up there and think that they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, because he's used to being able to just go in and do this like he used to be able to. But everything happened with his divorce, and all that. And it's like, I don't understand why he didn't have anybody else on standby. And when I say standby, I'm talking about somebody with a license. Like, I don't understand why, since you knew you had all these businesses that y'all had to split up all this stuff and dissolve whatever. I don't understand. You already knew what, y'all, it's Sunday. The people around here be setting it off on motorcycles on Sunday, so my apologies. But I'm not understanding why Martell did not think of the fact that they had all this stuff that they need to split up. They had very lucrative businesses, that she was the one who held the license for him to be able to build. It's like, why wouldn't you think, okay, well, if she and I aren't getting along like this, we might not need to be, trying to do any projects together anymore. So let me find somebody and get a deal set in stone with them while I work on getting the license myself. See, like, I'm just saying, he could have at least thought of that. That could have been him thinking ahead. I understand he didn't pass it before, and she passed it on the first try. But why not at least have something set where you can at least try to have something in play? Because he didn't even try, in my opinion. But anyway, so Maurice was trying to tell him that, it's possible that he will be able to do some things. But, if nothing else, he's just glad that he can work in the capacity that he is, so that with all the knowledge that he has, he can help his friends. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I get you. Well, we see that Letitia goes to see Dr. Francis on her own, and she is telling him that she found out some things when they went on their Vegas trip that were unsettling. And it gets to a point where he asks her if she thinks that she might be the reason why he's stressed, depressed, and all of that. She did say that she knows that he loves her, and it's crazy to her that her whole life, her family did not tell her that they loved her. Like, her mama never said it. Her grandmama never said it to her mama. So it was a crazy cycle of people not even verbalizing the fact they loved them. And they just showed it by giving gifts and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then in that moment, she realizes that her way of showing love is by giving as well. So it's like, okay. But yeah, so he wanted to know, like, are you doing things that are making him feel the way that he feels? Especially given the fact that he said to her that the one thing that she can do to help him is to listen more. So he was like, oh, well, are you adding to the stress? Like, what is it that's going on with the financial aspect? And so she was like, well, I like things and he likes things. So of course I like material things and I want material things. And it is what it is. But you can tell that she's really upset about the marriage going the way that it is. And he was just like, okay, why is it that you feel the need to defend him? Like, you don't have to defend him. She was just like, well, I feel the need to defend him because he doesn't say anything. And people always want to try to come at us and try to destroy our marriage. But she's not understanding that she's giving it life. Now, I'm sorry. I still believe that he was out here thotting and bopping. Whether there's 1 or 2 children that are actually in question or not, I really feel like he's been out here at least cheating. I don't care what nobody say. So, when I tell you, I know some people who work like he worked, but in between time, in the meantime, why are they supposed to be on lunch breaks? They was getting it in and doing the most. So it is what it is. So I don't put that past nobody at this point. I just don't. So anyway, he just, Dr. Francis was, hitting all the points that I felt he needed to hit. And she feeling some type of way because, he didn't even say anything really to acknowledge their marriage and all this other stuff. It was pretty embarrassing for her. And it is what it is. So I understand that the cycle that she's used to because her mama and them never said I love you. It's pretty hard. Like, I grew up with where when I was younger, my parents would say I love you, and we would hug and kiss and all of that before I would go to sleep. But as I got older, that became like non-existent. But I knew they loved me because they made a point to show me. And it wasn't by buying me stuff. So I mean, that's just not my love language. Somebody buying me stuff ain't my love language. I like when people show me. So they would show me. So I already knew they loved me. So even to this day, they tell me that they love me now. Like it's kind of like it's like everything is full circle now. It's crazy because I'm like, well, my mama says that I'm the only child that will tell them that I love them at the end of each conversation and all this other stuff, and I do. They most of the time they'll tell me that they love me back or whatever, or they will initiate it. So it is what it is. But yeah, y'all, that's kind of a hard pill to swallow. I just find that to be so, it's just hard. It has to be hard because I don't know. I love, affection, attention, stuff like that. And my family gave me what I needed in that regard. But anyway, thank y'all so much for tuning in. Please like this video, comment, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see y'all later on. Bye.